Oh, glorious day. The Chicago Bears got their guy. Ben Johnson is the head coach, the 19th head coach of the Chicago Bears. Boys, how we feeling today? We got a special guest, D-Lock, Darius Lockhart's in the house. We got Dustin
Darius.
Jones and, of course,
Yo.
Brandon, Bears on brand, Brandon Duplessis in the house. Kyle is working the national championship. He will be back this Wednesday. But, boys, we got our guy.
Yes,
Up to me.
indeed. Yes, indeed. What a time to be alive, man.
With conviction.
With conviction.
It's the Halas Hall happy hour today, guys.
It is the
Yes,
Halas
dude.
Hall happy hour. The Chicago Bears did not even let Ben Johnson get to Las Vegas. And boys, I don't have a lot of time. I just want to say, I've been saying this for a while with you guys here. Of course, he's a calculated risk, and taking any coach without experience was going to be a calculated risk. But Ben Johnson does seem to have a great system, a great scheme, and he can really help a guy like Caleb Williams develop into a great quarterback. He's helped a guy like Jared Goff. We've watched over the past couple of years, put up some video game numbers. He pretty much could not do this before Ben Johnson. It seems as though his system makes life easier on quarterbacks, his commitment to the running game, his high usage of screens and play actions, and I'm sure he'll implement a lot of RPOs for Caleb Williams. Boys, as we just stated, of course, the X factor is how will he command an entire locker room? Who wants to take it away? Because I'm super excited right now.
Darius, go ahead, boss. Let's hear what you got to say about it.
Welcome to the show, Darius.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's good to be on with you guys, man. It's been a while. Been too long, as a matter of fact, but I'm glad to be here. The hire of Ben Johnson is an incredible feat by the guys up top with the Bears opposing company, because everybody said they were going to get it wrong, but they got it right. We missed out on maybe the number one guy in Vrabel, but it's more than one good coach. It's more than one great coach. Good thing we got one of the guys. And probably from an offensive standpoint, he's the best guy, and that's not nothing that we're speculating. This is something that he's proven time and time again. And it's hard to argue with this decision. Anybody that doesn't like it, you may have a problem with yourself.
Dennis Moody says MCBGA, make the Chicago Bears great again. I put up Ben Johnson and said, go see what's up in Chicago, according to Dennis. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this hire today? How you feeling?
I feel good about the conviction. Feels different, guys. Feels a little different, right? They, like Sean said, they didn't let this guy get out of the building. That's
he hasn't even been in the building yet.
Yeah. So when this carousel started, it was Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson. Those were the two names the Bears leaked first, and they got one of those two guys, right? And Darius was right. Dustin, we agreed. I thought Vrabel was the guy because culture is what's most important, but Ben Johnson, it's not like Ben Johnson can't provide that. We just don't know yet. But, I mean, it's kind of like the drafting of Caleb Williams all over again, isn't it?
It's a can't miss. Like, everyone
This is the most desired candidate, and it's the thing that every GM would have and tried to do, right? Every other GM in the NFL tried to hire this guy. So, the one thing I can say, man, the same with Caleb Williams, very comparable to Caleb Williams as well, is you're getting the good things from Ben Johnson. 100%.
Brandon, that was the point I was going to make, man. It's like when Caleb was – listen, and we, as much as of a no-brainer as we thought Caleb Williams was, we're seeing Jaden Daniels do things I've never seen a rookie quarterback do in my life. So there's always questions in these situations. You don't know if Ben Johnson is going to be that guy. But in terms of, they're not zigging when everyone else is zagging like they did with Matt Eberflus. Like they're on point with what the rest of the league is thinking. Like Ben Johnson is that guy from the beginning. It wasn't just the Bears; it was everybody who said Vrabel and Ben Johnson are the top two candidates in this coaching cycle, and you got to get one of those guys. And there was legitimate concern up until even today. There was Raiders reports coming out today before the Ben Johnson report came out. There were legitimate concerns that the Bears were going to miss out on both of them. And what would that have said about this franchise? It would have been embarrassing. It would have been a failure. It would have been a disaster. So, I mean, like, for the Bears to go out, like you said, Brandon, the conviction, that's the first thing I said when we found out about it was they knew who their guy was. And it seems like guys like Darius were saying, I think they know who their guy is already. They're just waiting. it looks very much like that today because games just ended on Saturday for the Lions. Ben Johnson left the Lions, said, I'm not coming back. And immediately he's coming to Chicago tomorrow.
Well, and Sean said
they
something.
knew what they were doing. The Bears knew what they were doing.
Sean said something I like too. He said calculated risk, right? Because a rookie head coach is a risk, but it is calculated because this is not a Matt Nagy. You're not hiring a guy who is working under a guy who is running the entire operation. This is the shot caller. Ben Johnson was the shot caller. He is he's bringing that Detroit offense to you. That's what's coming here. He'll figure out how to use personnel in the best way possible to make them succeed. It's in the big moments, guys. Is Ben Johnson the guy when the game is on the line and when the pressure is heaviest because the game is on the line? Is he the guy who takes care
let's talk about that a little bit because that game was on the line on Saturday. They were down 38-28, and he calls a trick play that puts the ball in the hands of Jameson Williams to decide if he should throw a football. That was terrible situation awareness, guys. It was.
Dustin, can I touch on that though?
Detroit. Leave that shit in Detroit.
Can I touch on that though, Dustin? Because we were talking during that game, and I was questioning, saying, hey, if Dan Quinn doesn't make these fourth downs on Sunday, he's getting destroyed as the worst coach in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Detroit stayed exactly who they were. They've called these trick plays all season. He thought it was something. They stayed true to their identity and who they were to what got them 15 wins. So you can't really fault Ben Johnson for staying who he was and who they have been.
Hold on,
that situation.
Can I respond?
Hold on.
Sure.
Listen, when you're 12-2 and you're playing the fucking Arizona Cardinals, let Jameson Williams throw a ball.
I don't care. The Chicago Bears.
When you're playing the Bears,
let Matt Stafford
in week 9 and you've won 7 games in a row. Go ahead. Go. You know what you can do when you're Dan Campbell? Go 4th and 6. Go for it. Who fucking cares? I don't like the idea that they say this is what they've done all season. You have to be aware that when your win or go home, like Dustin said, situationally, I don't care about what point in the game. The game in itself in the playoffs is not what you got to cut that shit out, man.
I'll just say this.
What he was averaging per carry.
And they lost Sean hold on. They lost last year because of Dan Campbell's arrogance.
Sure, absolutely he did.
And they did. Partially lost this year because Ben Johnson's arrogance has an ego. And Ben Johnson decided to call a play against the head coach that don't play. Dan Quinn does not let that shit happen.
It was loud and clear.
If that particular play were to go for a touchdown, you guys would be salivating right now. Like, dude, that was the smartest call ever.
But they most often
it can't go both ways. Because if Dan Quinn is stopped, you guys would have said, stick to your identity. He stick to who he was. He didn't make it, but he did it all year. That's what I'm saying. Ben Johnson's done it all year. He's pulled these things out of his hat. He's pulled trick plays. He's made it happen.
Can I ask you a question?
And if it happened in that game, you guys would be singing a different song.
Hold on. Real quick. You watch a lot of football, though, Sean. How many other teams in the playoffs have attempted trick plays?
Sure. That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, he was trying to liven up a team that looked like was being outmatched.
Yeah, they were falling apart.
But you can't.
That wasn't the time to do that shit.
It wasn't the time to do that. Like you can't measure those things up that way. And when critical times, it's more about the players than the actual play.
Sure.
Like Dustin mentioned, you have a running back who looks like the best offensive player on the field. Halftime, he had 8 carries for damn near 100 yards.
19 and a half yards per carry he was averaging.
Right.
Yeah.
3rd and 1. You're in the shotgun trying to throw a pass on the 17-yard line. You throw an interception. That's the mistake. You can't. Absolutely. Those are the plays you can't. Regardless of you've been doing it all year, this wasn't the time to do that.
It feels like the Bears.
You don't judge any of these guys on one play. You don't judge
correct.
any of these guys on one game. Ben Johnson has put together a great resume in Detroit as as the best offensive coordinator in football, potentially. A top 5 offense every year, number 1 this year. So I mean, like, you don't judge him on that one play, but you also hope that he learns from that and says, like, when it comes down to nut crunch time, I got to get to the basics, and I just got to establish the run and establish my will against this team across from me, because that's what's working, and I got to stick with what's working until they show me they can stop it instead of trying to get cute. That's the way I look at it.
Yes, indeed.
Touching on that, Ben Johnson's offenses have finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th over the past 3 years. The Bears over the past 11 years, 32, 20, 28, 24, 26. I think we know where that's going. So,
guys, Dennis Moody had a question here that I wanted to just get to real quick. He says, has Dennis Allen been confirmed, or is that a rumor? That is a rumor, but I mean, like, it's a rumor with really good intel.
Where there's smoke, there's fire with that one.
Yeah. Dennis Allen,
there's merit to it. And I do believe, and Dustin's made a point of this, I believe that the Chicago Bears sometimes kind of intentionally allow things.
Absolutely, Trey.
And it doesn't hurt. And it doesn't hurt if you're interested in Dennis Allen to kind of let that kid out there, because then other teams might be aware of the fact that.
And it's a good look for the Bears if you have a rookie head coach surrounding him with coordinators that have had head coaching experience, that are veteran coaches. That's going to be
he ran a good defense. He ran a good defense. He was good.
This move makes too much sense.
Yeah, Dennis Allen makes too much sense. Robert Saleh is the other one to me. Dennis Allen allows you to stay in that 4-3, which is a huge benefit to the Bears going into this offseason in terms of not having to adjust your entire roster. That makes a big difference. Saleh is going to run a 3-4 for you, and that's going to change some things and take a little bit more work to get the roster around it.
I was going to say, if I may, I know we're going to get into Jaden Daniels, but before we start, and if we getting into the comparing, I think that for me, we might all be able to agree that it wasn't really that we picked the wrong quarterback. It was about the process of the development of the quarterback this year. And I think with Ben Johnson here, he does are going to help us realize his Caleb Williams' full potential. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely. I think Caleb's ecstatic.
Yeah, I agree.
And he should be.
And let's keep it real, fellas. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint.
Yeah.
Because remember, RG3 had a better year than Andrew Luck. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who would you rather take?
Andrew Luck ended up retiring early. RG3 went down with injuries early. Jaden Daniels is he's doing things that I've never seen a rookie quarterback do at this point in the season. It's very impressive. It's hard to compare any other rookie in history to Jaden Daniels in terms of what he's accomplishing right now, let alone Caleb Williams, who dealt with everything he's dealt with in Chicago this year. Hopefully hiring Ben Johnson, like you said, Sean, is a stabilizing factor that changes those ups and downs and those inconsistencies and that stress and turmoil that Ryan Poles wants us to define. Like, hopefully it changes those things and gets Caleb on the right track where he can start to be on that same level that we're seeing Jaden Daniels compete on this year.
I was going to say, Brando, this is from a league source earlier who said they know Ben Johnson very well and been around him, that he's a very detail-oriented individual who's a perfectionist at heart, a leader ready to set a high standard. He brings a demanding presence that has been sorely missed at Halas Hall. So I know we've had a lot of questions about if this guy can command this locker room.
Well, demanding presence is the best praise I've heard about Ben Johnson.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think you need this rah-rah, get-in-your-face guy. You just need a guy they respect and they hold at authority, because I don't think Lovie Smith was like get-in-your-face, grab you by the shirt.
No, but he was accountable. Accountability was important. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. I love Lovie. He's my favorite Bears coach since Ditka.
Breaking news, Bruce. Plank. Bear Down Mike.
What's up,
Purple
guys?
Jesus joined us. Dennis Moody. Appreciate everybody in the chat, guys. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
Thank you all so much.
But thank you for being here. Keep the comments coming because we will dive into whatever y'all want to talk about.
I think Darren Rizzi's coming over as well.
The Rizzler?
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard that. I heard that.
They all three had a relationship in Miami around 2014. Campbell, Rizzi, and Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is going to have an Eric Spoelstra type effect, I believe, on the Bears, which is a great thing if you ask me.
So if we were looking
exactly, Plank, exactly.
Yep. If we were looking at Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen as his defensive coordinator, Rizzi as his special teams coordinator, the offensive coordinator is one we haven't heard about, guys.
Well,
what are our thoughts on that? Have we had any thoughts about that? We even had time to think about it with all the jubilation. Like, who would you want as the offensive coordinator? Who do we think Ben Johnson brings?
I think he's going to bring over Hank Fraley from Detroit. Now, will he name Fraley an OC, or will he just designate him as the O-line coach? Will be the question. But
as he continues to play, Ben Johnson is going to call the plays, guys. Let's be very clear about that. Ben Johnson will call the plays for his offense.
Hank Fraley's interviewing with the Titans as an OC.
He interviewed with the Seahawks already.
Yeah. If I may,
Seahawks, that's what it was. Sorry, that's not.
If I may, I
think Hank Fraley's going to come in. I believe that.
Go ahead, Sean.
I touched on this a few shows back. I think the relationship between Scotty Montgomery and Ben Johnson is very, very tight. He's the assistant head coach, running backs coach for the Lions right now. Mm-hmm. And I heard a little buzz earlier, and I don't know if it was just someone typing some shit. I didn't really look into it, but his name was mentioned as possibly coming over with Ben Johnson. So,
well, you got to think about
Detroit.
You got about JT Bears. Who does Detroit promote?
Maybe JT Barrett.
That's going to sway. Who does Detroit promote? Because they're going to want to keep somebody from their staff.
Well, how about Anton Randall L?
I like Anton Randall L.
I want Randall L to be our offensive coordinator because listen, that guy, you talk about accountability.
He's got fire.
Play around, man.
Hey, but you got to think about this. Doesn't matter who the OC is. Ben Johnson is designing the offense.
Guys, I love him being a Chicago guy coming in here.
Yeah. The reality is, based on what we all just kind of touched on, it don't matter who Ben Johnson brings as the offensive coordinator. It's going to be just a kind of a role in title, but not really in execution, because Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears team. Mm-hmm. So, that's a plus for us. We got the guy who was calling plays for one of the best offenses in the NFL over the last 3 years coming over and now he's got Caleb Williams to work with, Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, hopefully another running back that they add either via the draft or free agency. And, potentially Keenan Allen re-signing here. If not, they draft or sign another receiver. This is a very good offense that they have, that Ben Johnson will have to build around and really get creative with. The question, though, is the offensive line. The question is the offensive line, isn't it?
Well, we all know that they're going to have to draft that offensive line pretty quick. And my favorite free agent for that offensive line would be Drew Dahlman right now out of Atlanta.
Okay.
Their center. I know we need a left tackle, but we definitely – Drew Dahlman is a stud. He's 26 years old, coming into his prime. You can sign him to a 4-year deal. You have him until the end of his Caleb's rookie deal. He's my number one guy on the free agent market that I think the Bears should sign, which I thought they should have done last year, is get a veteran center to pair with Caleb. Hopefully they correct that mistake, because what did polls say? Process over outcome. Hopefully the process right now seems a lot better to the naked eye after today. So
Ronnie Stanley's a guy who would go at the top of my list if I thought he was a legitimate shot over Dahlman. Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle at Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore's going to let him get out of there, but he would be the number one offensive line free agent in my opinion.
That kid that plays left tackle with the Rams, Jackson.
Yeah, he's good too,
man. He's
good.
So
real quick, back to what you were saying about an offensive coordinator hire for Ben Johnson. But the real benefit here is, and I don't like to exclude potential defensive head coaches when you're interviewing people, even if you just did just draft the first overall quarterback, whatever. But the benefit of Johnson being your head coach now is the offensive coordinator. The offense is always going to be his. The offense that Caleb runs is always going to be his. It's going to consistently be there as long as he succeeds. And his offensive coordinator likely won't get a job as anything else because he's not calling the shots. You know what I mean?
The offensive coordinator is not going to matter so much in Chicago.
No, and he's not going to get promoted.
Someone that will help install game plans, but the game plans will be Ben Johnson's. But again, those game plans won't mean jack shit, guys. If this I think Ben Johnson's focus is first and foremost will be this offensive line coming from the best offensive line in football in Detroit, coming to Chicago where that is not the case, and he knows
sacks allowed. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, right. They also have 3 first-round picks on that offensive line, so he knows what to get. He knows what to get done.
So that
one of those guys on the starting Detroit offensive line will be a free agent this season. One of the guards,
Zettler.
Yeah.
Zettler, but he's old, man. He's like 32 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you're gonna draft. Of course you're gonna draft one, but he'll be a
You
nice
draft the
addition.
left tackle. You draft the left tackle.
Potentially,
And Ben Johnson will know that for sure.
Yeah, potentially you could see the Bears going offensive line first round. That's what I would expect, and especially now that they haven't officially done it, but they're saying Ben Johnson's coming tomorrow to sign the contract. So like I think you're leaning offensive line very heavily in this draft, similar to what the Steelers did last year in their draft. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears team, guys.
And so are we all off the number 10 Ashton Genty train that's coming in with all these
Darius ain't.
No.
Darius is not.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, what about here? Let me ask you this.
I was never on it personally.
Here, let me ask you this, Darius. Just hypothetically speaking, Banks falls down. That's the left tackle. Bears take him at 10. It's all hypothetical, guys. And you have a chance with that second pick in the early second round. The Bears will have, the 10th pick, or they'll have the Carolina's pick. They take Omario Hampton if he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Or a little bit later, they end up with a Dylan Sampson, which is looking like a 3rd or 4th round pick in the draft right now.
I like Hampton. I like Hampton a lot.
I like Hampton. So would you rather have that left tackle at 10 and maybe Hampton at 37?
I mean, yeah, if we can get away with that. But I don't think we'll be able to get away with that. Hampton is incredible, man.
Is Judkins in this draft, guys?
He is.
Judkins and Henderson are both in this draft.
I like Judkins an awful lot. I think that guy is a pro running back waiting to happen.
I liked him in Mississippi State, but he didn't get a lot of good use because of the offense they run. When he was at Mississippi State, I liked him there too. But
and Dustin,
I think Hampton is the real deal, though. Hampton and Genty are my two favorite, especially since Singleton went back to school. Yeah, Singleton was in that group as well. Singleton is incredible, man.
Don't sleep on Dylan Sampson, man. He's got a couple of flaws, but he might be all right.
But there are some O linemen. There are some left tackles in that second round that are awesome too, man.
O line is deep in this draft.
It's a very deep O line.
They're making their picks right now on game day for the BCS. Who y'all got going around the train?
Notre Dame all the way. Let's go.
Notre Dame
on
the money line. What do you got, Brandon? Darius?
I'm rooting for Marcus Freeman, man.
Marcus Freeman. I know, Brandon, you are too.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good football game. I do like Sean. I think Ohio State's the better football team. Personally, I think Freeman's gonna win that football game.
Lee Corso just took the Buckeyes, or he just took the Fighting Irish. Sorry.
No, that's the kiss of death.
Here, I'll say this. I have nothing against Notre Dame. I really do like Marcus Freeman. I just think there's way too many pros on Ohio State, and there's too many dings on Notre Dame.
Ohio State is clearly the better team, Sean. It's not even close. Yeah. I just love the story around this Notre Dame team, the games that they've won in this college football playoff.
Defense, man.
They lost to Northern Illinois, guys, and haven't lost since. Like, the story of this team is pretty damn good, and I'm still gonna be wishing a little bit that Marcus Freeman might have been an option for the Bears as head coach tonight when I watch this game.
I honestly think Marcus Freeman probably talked with the Bears, and he probably told them, "Hey, man, I'm going to be staying in college a couple years. Don't worry about me." He's got a good thing going here. And honestly,
they did reach out.
They did. I still honestly think he's waiting for the Ohio State job. I really, really do.
You think so?
I do.
Bruce has got Notre Dame. Plank has got Ohio State. He was a Bear too, so I mean,
he was a Bear. I think he was drafted in 08 or 09. I think 09 maybe.
09, yeah. I'm excited for this game.
He never played for the Bears.
Freeman. Well, he was drafted by the Bears.
Yeah, he was drafted.
He never played a game for the Bears.
This is going to be. It should be a good football game, man. I think I'm going to take the Buckeyes to cover the spread, though. I think it'll be close in the first half, but I think the Buckeyes will run away in the second half.
Is it still 9.5?
It dropped to 8.5.
I have not been betting.
Here, I bet the Buckeyes, and I dumped it all the way down to -3.5. So
should have went 2.5.
well, I got in a two-teamer or on a four-legger. I got Judkins and Henderson both over 50 rushing yards and each anytime scorers.
Oh wow!
And then what's his name? Greathouse. I got Greathouse over 24 receiving yards and Riley Leonard over 178 passing.
Listen, the thing that makes me think about this, like honestly, to think Notre Dame has a chance is the plays. Notre Dame got down 10 points to Penn State. Penn State is a good team with a very good defense, and Notre Dame made explosive plays on them. Notre Dame
I was so surprised.
I did not expect that to happen. Once they went down 10, I was very concerned.
I buried them.
Notre Dame came back and made some very big plays against a very good defense. You could see
if Notre Dame stands a chance of upsetting in this football game, Love has to be outstanding. He has to be the MOP. He has to be the best player on the field. It's literally that has to happen for Notre Dame to pull this upset.
That touchdown run he had last week.
That was a man run, dude.
Oh my god! And that leap, that hurdle.
Yeah, I like that's the back I love most. I think Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love is very underrated,
right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's coming out this year.
No, probably not. But he's a very underrated back, I think, for what he brings to the table. And if like you said, Sean, if he balls out tonight, Notre Dame has a fighting chance.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask.
He's a playmaker, dude.
But I think the quarterback is really going to have to play his best game tonight. You know,
who, Riley Leonard?
Yeah, he's going to have to He's going to have to do his best Tim Tebow rendition and really play the perfect game at that position tonight.
I think Riley Leonard might be a solid pro in the NFL when it comes time for him to get that opportunity. We'll see, though, man. We'll see.
Might be a little bit of Daniel Jones.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, both Duke.
I think Daniel Jones was a much polished passer. I mean, it didn't look like that in the pros, but as a passer, I think he's a lot more polished than the Notre Dame's quarterback. But as far as size and speed and influence, he got it. He definitely has that.
He's a leader. He's a leader on that field. Yes, so I mean, I like Riley Leonard a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Hopefully, it's just a good game at the end of the day. And speaking of good games, guys, we just had 4 really good games this past weekend in the NFL playoffs. I mean, we're talking Bears. We're talking Ben Johnson. That's the story of the day for the Chicago Bears and their fans. But there's some really good football being played in the NFL. Then we're going to the championship rounds now. What did you guys think of those games this past weekend?
Ooh,
incredible.
What stood out to you the most?
Jaden Daniels.
Saquon Barkley.
Jaden Daniels, Saquon, Darius.
Joe Brady.
Mark Andrews.
Interesting.
Joe Brady.
Joe Brady might be the Saints head coach when this whole thing is said and done. That he's got those Saints ties. He worked under Sean Payton.
Yes, he did.
And he's coming on strong.
I was really hoping Brady was going to end up in Cincinnati with Burrow and Chase.
That'd be a good story too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully he holds up one more year and stays in Buffalo.
Sean, I got to agree with you, man. It was Jaden Daniels. The story of this entire NFL season is Jaden Daniels. As far as the way it's played out, Jaden Daniels is the story of this NFL season. How can we even explain this? Like, I expected Jaden Daniels to be good, but this is historic. Like, what the hell is going on? How did he get this good? I remembered him not being as good of a runner, not being as smart of a runner in college, and now he doesn't take hits in the NFL. He doesn't take hits.
Coaching, man. Coaching,
maybe.
Well, you got to think as 2 successful quarterbacks as rookies this season between Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels are both like 25 years old and have played like 60 plus games of football in college. So these guys have played
under
lot
different systems as well.
So when you watch them in the pocket, they look very unratherly comfortable for rookie quarterbacks because they've just been doing this so long. These guys have both played, because you look at Trubisky, who played 12 games in college. The Bears traded to draft with the 2nd pick. And then Denver takes Bo Nix, 11th? And the guy played 62 games or something in college. And look at how much of a difference that makes. And I think it was Bill Parcells who said 30 minimum. That's it. I don't draft a kid who hasn't done. And Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix are proving, hopefully, to the future NFL draft picks or teams who are going to select future prospects, draft a kid who's played a lot of football.
Jaden Daniels is the same age as Joe Burrow, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes, he is. No, I think he's older.
He's like the same age. They're
Jaden
very
Daniels
similar.
25.
Yeah.
I
He's
believe,
25.
And
And
so is Michael Penix, and Bo Nix is 24.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these
like
portal players, man, they get a lot of experience. They get to kind of be journeymen in college.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, right.
They learn the different systems, and now they come into the NFL, and that might start meaning more instant success for these rookie quarterbacks, which we have not been used to in our years of watching football, guys.
Daniels just turned 25 December 18th.
Well, and this is, guys, and this is why. So you've seen this now, and I believe this is going to trend this way because you have Michael Penix, you have Bo Nix, you have Jaden Daniels, who are all older, right? Which was back just 10 years ago, you would have looked at a 25-year-old quarterback and said, like, fuck no. You know what I mean? But Shedeur Sanders right now is touted heavily as the number 1 overall pick in this draft and the number 1 quarterback prospect in the draft.
Ward.
And I think Cam Ward is going to be immediately better than Shedeur Sanders because
Yes.
he's now played like almost 5 seasons of football.
Yeah,
and that's the difference.
3 different
then.
teams.
Here,
3 different
yeah.
teams.
Hey,
Is
Brandon,
these guys who play a lot of football are not scared of the speed of the NFL. It's easier to get
I'm going to jump in on that one because I know there's a guy that could be a day 2 quarterback that I personally think might be this year's Bo Nix and might be the best quarterback in this draft, and that's Jackson Dart, another guy who's played a lot of football.
Is that Ole Miss?
Ole Miss, dude. Watch what he did to the number 9 overall defense this in his bowl game. I mean, the guy is accurate. He led the SEC in passing yards, touchdowns, passing completion percentage. I mean, the SEC is no joke. Jackson Dart, man, I love players in the SEC. Watch out for that kid. Whoever drafts him is going to get a steal this year in this draft. Mark my words.
But respect to the SEC, and I see them very often. Being I live here, there's not many quarterbacks in the SEC right now. I mean,
the SEC.
Jackson Dart is a very good quarterback. He's under a tremendous system that passes. That's a heavy passing system.
Lane Kiffin, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah. And I remember Bo Nix when he first came to Auburn. Now, remember, he's a son of a quarterback. His dad played at Auburn.
Yep.
It didn't look too good.
No, you can see flashes.
You
You can see little flashes here and there. Like when there was one play where he in Auburn against Alabama, I believe, where he just scrambled around for like it felt like a minute and then made a pass across his body going the wrong direction for a first down in that game. Like he would show flashes, but he was not very consistent at all.
Yeah.
So, but like Plank is saying, with the NIL and the transfer portal, we're gonna start seeing older QBs coming out of college that have had a lot of experience. That's the point that I'm making.
And it's good. Yeah. It's a good thing.
Good for NFL football. It's going to be really good for NFL football.
Young quarterbacks. Quarterbacks ready to play for
Sean,
sure.
You doing all right, bud? You need to get out here?
Yeah, my back's a little sore, boys.
For sure, man.
I just wanted to say before I get out of here, I might be on Wednesday, but if I'm not, I'm taking the Bills.
Frank, what up?
And I'm taking the Eagles. I'm going to go against Jaden Daniels this week. I'm taking the home team, Bills and Eagles in the Super Bowl. Let's go. I have to go and lay down, good boys. I appreciate y'all.
All right.
I love y'all.
Hey, good to see you,
Sean.
Sean.
Congratulations, Sean.
Sean, you can lay in bed and hit us up like Caleb did. The amount
I gotta lay in the fetal position, unfortunately.
Hey, Sean, congratulations.
What happened?
Oh, the Ben Johnson hire. You've been dreaming of this thing.
I got my guy. We all got our guy.
Sean had to change his underpants when they hired Ben Johnson.
Love you, boys. Have a good rest of the show. Thanks for everyone for showing up today, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Take it easy, Sean. Take care of yourself, man.
We're down. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, can I say this real quick, guys? When we were talking about you said the story and Jaden Daniels, Saquon Barkley, Mark Andrews. That's got to be the headline that made it to the top, man. I mean, because
Mark Andrews was like, "You guys are not going to one up me. People are going to be talking about me for years."
Oh my beer!
Let me make myself the story. I mean, listen. When I was watching these playoffs, man, and I mentioned it to you, Brandon, in our text, the things that kept standing out to me were like what ifs around the Bears.
Mike Cross.
What could have been? Yeah. Mark Andrews messed up his Super Bowl prediction, but like you got the Jaden Daniels factor, you got the Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury factor, all potential, Bears potentials. They were. Jalen Carter made a huge play in that game to seal it for the Eagles. I mean, like, there was just so much going on where it was like the Bears could have had this guy on their team, or the Bears could have made the decision when they were choosing between Eberflus and Quinn, they could have went with Quinn, and where would they be?
Realistically, the Bears is, when you say that term, is Ryan Poles and Dustin.
And Ryan Poles just made this decision today, guys.
A question that's just like, Ryan Poles just hired this head coach. And if Ben Johnson is a good head coach, you'd imagine there's no chance that Ryan Poles is terminated, but they still haven't extended Ryan Poles. So if Ryan Poles were to be terminated, is Ben Johnson is he, what kind, you can't give him a promise, right? You can't assure him of anything because it's up to the future GM who's not yet hired, right?
But maybe that gives Johnson a chance to pick his guy.
More power potentially. Yeah.
You know?
It really depends on
we don't like that though, right?
I don't. I don't. But if you see this offense develop, Brandon, and the team is still not successful, but you see Caleb Williams take huge leaps, and they decide to move on from Ryan Poles, I think they're going to decide.
More importantly, Dustin, if you see an offensive line next year that falls apart, and Caleb Williams sacked another 70 times, and Ben Johnson's showing you that he's getting the best out of them, regardless, you fire Ryan Poles for sure.
I personally do not believe that there's no way Ben Johnson took this job without having a conversation with Poles about this offensive line. And
absolutely.
There's no way. Ben Johnson knows how important that offensive line is. I will keep harping this until the day the Bears make some changes along that offensive line, because I believe they're going to. But there's no way Ben Johnson comes here if he does not feel confident that the Bears have a good plan to address their biggest issue on offense, which is the offensive line.
And to double down on you, Dustin, Ben Johnson did not have to come here for the Bears to understand that the offensive line was an issue.
Nope.
Now it's a great caveat that he did come and that he's now in the building, but no one needed to let the Bears know that the offensive line was an issue. If these 60 sacks, if these blown up, if you watching film and you see guys on the ground every other snap, you don't need nobody to tell you where your issues lie. You know, Ben Johnson being in the building is just a hell of a caveat, because it's icing on the fucking cake. We already know the direction we're going in.
And you're both absolutely right, Dustin, like Darius, that Ben Johnson would have had these conversations for sure. Because first off, Ben Johnson's a very intelligent individual. Yeah. You know, he would have had these conversations because I feel like personally, guys, this was reported by everybody that the Bears select Ben Johnson as their next head coach. You could have just as easily reported this. Ben Johnson selects the Bears as the coaching job that he prefers.
Because he could have went Jaguars. Yeah. He could have went Raiders. There were different situations. He chose this one for a reason, and it's Caleb Williams, guys. The reason is Caleb Williams and the fact that the Bears have a lot of resources to improve their deficiencies between the draft and between their cap room. You could see a path towards success. And here's the thing, guys, because a couple weeks ago I was like, this NFC North is going to be impossible to come out of. After watching these playoffs, I was wrong. I was wrong. We watched the NFC, and you brought up the SEC, Darius. The SEC is like the NFC North. Like, where are those teams now? They look dominant all season, but when it came down to it, they weren't able to make the plays and stay consistent enough to win these games that mattered the most. So the Bears now have this opening that I did not foresee them having. There's doubt in the heads of these teams now. The Packers have doubts and they have flaws. The Lions have doubts and they have flaws, and they're about to lose they're losing their two coordinators, right? And so do the Vikings, and Sam Darnold might just be Sam Darnold. So as highly as we thought just a couple weeks ago, it's very different now. It's very different today than it was just a couple weeks ago to me.
They were talking on the radio, and they were talking on Cap and Hood about whether or not you even signed Sam Darnold.
Exactly. You drafted JJ McCarthy number 12.
But Dustin, you're right. You wouldn't have heard that 3 weeks ago. You know,
the NFC North was the juggernaut of the NFL.
And Darnold was getting a contract like 3
But we're looking at two NFC East teams in the NFC Championship. So there's an opening now. So Ben Johnson, like you said, chose the Bears, the same as the Bears wanted Ben Johnson. And what I love the most about it, guys, at the end of the day, is just the intentionality with which the Bears approached the situation. They knew who their guy was. And like I said, Darius, earlier, I think you were right. I think they knew the whole time. And they did not waste a fucking second in terms of locking down their guy. And at least that gives me some confidence in their process and in their thought process, because I just feel confident from their confidence, I guess is what I'm saying.
And, people got upset of the lack of information that, was coming out of Halas Hall, because the Bears wasn't very vocal. They wasn't, it wasn't a lot of, play on how they were going to do things. They just, they just stuck to their guns. They stayed together as a unit, and they got the job done.
Yep.
Yeah, Ryan Poles is very he keeps things very in house. That's something we've learned. We weren't sure if it was so much Matt Eberflus as it was Ryan Poles, but it's pretty clear now. Ryan Poles does not like I said, I think Dustin's very correct in saying he allows what's reported to be reported. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For his own
players,
personal
man.
gain.
Now we got to work on the players. We got to
for
work
sure,
on
and that's
the
going to
players.
happen, and that'll be the next step. But I want to say this, because I was a big proponent of Mike Vrabel from the beginning. I thought he was the number one candidate without a question. Okay, and I was very disappointed with the way the Bears approached Mike Vrabel, even with all the New England ties, even with all the facts of potential that you didn't have a chance on Vrabel in the first place. I think it wasn't just that they didn't have a chance. The Bears chose Ben Johnson over Mike Vrabel early on in this process, and that's why they did not go harder for Vrabel. So that makes me feel a little better about the Vrabel thing too, to be quite honest. Does that change anything for you, Brandon, how they've approached this Ben Johnson thing and going back and looking at how they approached the Vrabel thing?
I had a theory with Kyle that Vrabel humored a phone call, but I think Vrabel informed the Bears. That was his job, the job
Makes
that he
sense.
wanted. That's what I believe. I don't think Vrabel wanted to waste a bunch of people's time. I think that he informed Chicago, like, if the offer's in New England, that's where I'd like to be. So that's why I personally believe that's why Poles moved off of it as quickly as we watched that happen.
I'm starting to think that it might be a combination of both, though. I'm starting to think that maybe the Bears had Johnson higher on their list than Vrabel, which I can accept. And again, the way they approached the Matt Eberflus thing felt wrong the entire time. It felt wrong when they made the hire. This feels very different.
Very different.
And here's
intentionality with it.
But, and as high as we all are on this right now, and I love Ben Johnson. I'm going to say this, guys. Of all the rookie head coaching candidates, not just from this pool, but from the last few seasons, Ben Johnson is probably the most exciting and legitimate candidate, I think, to earn a head coaching job. But I do want to say this. There is the risk of a rookie head coach. So what sucks for me
biggest concern.
What sucks for me is I love Mike Vrabel because you knew what you get. The culture is coming. My problem with Johnson is, guys, this could be the next Kyle Shanahan, or it could be the next terminated head coach in the NFL.
Matt Nagy.
It could be the very next. Like I said, if Ben Johnson doesn't do well and Poles is fired, Ben Johnson could very well be the next terminated head coach in the NFL. That's a possibility.
Yeah,
so it's always a possibility, but please.
What's going to alleviate my concerns when it comes to that is the Bears hiring a guy like Dennis Allen, who has been there and done it before. Hiring very cultivating a coaching staff that has a lot of experience, has a lot to lean on, that Ben Johnson can lean on while he's learning, while he's figuring out how to lead a team, and also the fact that he comes from Dan Campbell, working so closely with him for so many years. Dan Campbell is the ultimate example of that kind of coach that I wanted, in my opinion. So that gives me some confidence in it as well. But the Bears are going to have to do a really good job, and Ben Johnson's going to have to do a really good job of surrounding himself with the coaching staff that he can lean on. That's what's going to alleviate my concerns.
And since we talked about Jaden Daniels, right? Think about Dan Quinn. That's what Dan Quinn essentially did, and he's been coaching forever. He surrounded himself with guys that were better at him in certain areas, the guys that were more experienced than him in certain areas. That was the key to his success here in Atlanta. When he was in Atlanta, when he hired Kyle Shanahan, it was up from there.
Yeah, for sure.
And you look at the DC team, they have 3 guys that have been head coaches at some point.
Yep, and that formula worked. Yes.
Yeah, it works.
Guys, Mike Ross says the Bears have the best QB in the NFC North and Caleb Williams. Really, I like that comment. And this is funny, Brandon, because I was texting this last night in our groups. Goff's going golf. Goff is going to golf. And that's what Goff did in that game on Saturday. That's the reason that they lost. This Notre Dame-Ohio State game is about to start. And Mike Ross said earlier about the Mark Andrews thing. I want to touch on this, and I wanted Kyle to be here because we were having this conversation, and I get so bothered by it. I don't want to just use it as a platform to dog on Kyle when he's not here to come back. But I do want to say that just because Lamar Jackson did not win that game yesterday does not mean Lamar Jackson is not a good NFL quarterback. Does not make him a good artist. Mark Andrews dropped the pass that would have tied that game. Whether or not the Bills would have scored again, all I know is Lamar Jackson did what he needed to do in the most important moment of the game, and he should get credit for that. He should not just get the blame for the 2 turnovers. He made amazing plays to get that team back in the game, okay? And another thing that I want to point out before I let you guys talk on this is his stats in playoff games. People talk about the amount of interceptions he has in playoff games. Lamar Jackson has 7 interceptions in 8 games, 0.875%. I'm going to throw a couple of other quarterbacks at you guys just for frame of reference. Joe Montana, 21 interceptions in 23 games, 0.91 per game. John Elway, 21 interceptions in 22 playoff games, 0.95 per game. Peyton Manning, 25 interceptions in 27 playoff games, 0.92 per game. Tom Brady threw 40 in 48 games. That's a 0.83. That's pretty solid. Aaron Rodgers is kind of an animal. 13 interceptions in 22 playoff games at a 0.59. And Josh Allen's amazing. He only has 4 interceptions in 12 playoff games. That's a 0.33. That is an outlier. And Josh Allen, I love Josh Allen. Great quarterback. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he has a chance to go to the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens with this Chiefs.
Here we go again.
Exactly. Right? He's got to get over get that monkey off his back, you know. But I just want to say that Lamar Jackson has a better interception per game rate in the playoffs than Joe Montana, John Elway, Peyton Manning. I mean, these are some of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history that have won a lot of Super Bowls, guys. It's not just about that. It is a team sport. Multiple guys need to make plays. Defensive players are paid to make plays and create turnovers. I can't just put it all at the feet of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a hell of a player, and I just want to say that because I'm sorry. It sucks the Ravens lost. I'm happy the Bills won. I didn't have a dog in the fight, really, to be honest. Right. I'm not going to say Lamar is not that guy.
And those quarterbacks that you're talking about, Dustin, won Super Bowls with higher interception ratios, per game ratios, because when you turn the ball over, guys, when you turn the ball over, the game goes on. It's not like he threw an interception in the third quarter, so he lost the game. Well, no, there was another quarter to play. Like, what are you talking about? So, like, when you said Lamar Jackson, the pressure in that moment when he throws the touchdown that he does to put them in position to tie the game with a potential two-point conversion, and then makes the pass on the 2-point conversion that ties the game. What the hell? I mean, shame on Lamar Jackson for not throwing the ball and running and catching it himself. I mean, what the hell? You know what I mean?
And they were driving, and Mark Andrews fumbled. It was a hell of a play by Bernard to punch that ball out. It was a great play. Like, defenses get paid to make plays too.
They make plays, right?
But Mark Andrews needs to hold on to that ball though too. It doesn't just fall at the feet of Lamar. It is a team sport. It is the ultimate team sport, Darius.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. My thing, as far as Lamar is concerned, you know, being that he's the 2-time MVP, potentially could be a third. We don't know.
It's going to be Josh Allen.
And like we've seen co-MVPs. We've seen co-MVPs before, but you know.
Yeah, I don't think that we're ever going to see that again. Steve McNair and Peyton Manning, right? That year, that was a hell of a year.
Yeah, I'm saying that to say this.
Steve McNair. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying that to say this. You know, I didn't take too much stock into the interception because it's more like a punt. The one he threw, and then it was a miscommunication between him and the receiver, so the interception happened. You know, I'll always have issues with turnovers in the red zone, especially when you have a unstoppable entity like a Derrick Henry or a Gibbs or a Barkley in the backfield. You know, I just feel like the coordinator didn't necessarily play to the team's strengths at that particular time. And like you said, the defenses are paid to make plays, man. Like everybody gets paid out there on the field. And one of the main reasons why I mentioned Joe Brady as my guy for the weekend is because he was one guy, he was one coordinator that did not go away from.
He knew what was going to win. He kept it simple. He went to the
Yeah.
basics, and he hit him in the mouth. That's what he did.
And, you know, regardless of what was going on in the game, he made it about the player. You know, the player, he made it about his quarterback, Josh Allen.
James Cook, Ray Davis in some spots.
Yeah.
You know, Ty Johnson in some spots. Yeah.
But in critical moments, he made it about what he knew was going to win that game for them.
Yep.
You know, he didn't overthink anything, which is a
importantly,
natural thing for guys to do, especially when the game is going like that. And it seemed like at one point it did seem like Baltimore had captured most of the momentum. You know, he made it about his quarterback. And I think at the end of the day, you know, he had help with Andrews and the turnovers. But at the end of the day, I think that's what ultimately won that game for him.
Well, that's a hell of a point, Darius.
And why I don't – obviously, guys, turnovers are contributing factors to losing football games, right? But why I don't credit a loss to, like, Lamar Jackson's turnovers is because, like you said, defense makes plays. That's what they're paid for. Mark Andrews fumbled the ball. I'm not holding Mark Andrews super accountable for, like, a lot of players have fumbled in the playoffs now, guys. I'm not holding his feet to the fire for that, just the same as Lamar Jackson threw interceptions, because the defender made a play, like Dustin said. Defender popped it up, but dropping a pass.
That pass was
that
was
is
no
just
defender there.
negligence.
All he had to
That's
do was
your
catch
job.
it.
You're just not doing your job. So when you're throwing an interception, you're trying to, you know what I mean? You're trying to do your job. You're taking a risk. It didn't pay off, and the defender made a play. When you're not catching a pass,
what up, Kyle?
You're just
or
not doing
catching
your
the
job.
snap. Jackson dropped that snap on that.
Yeah,
fumble.
that led to the fumble. Yeah,
yeah. Like those are the things for me. Like end
listen,
zone,
you can't turn the ball
zone,
over. You
yeah,
can't.
If you do, it's going to be very hard to overcome and win a football game.
And Lamar Jackson took responsibility for that more than anybody immediately, and he knows he fucked up. And at the end of the day, he can't take it back. It is what it is. You can't have those turnovers. Those definitely contributed to them losing that game. But at the end, Lamar made the plays when it mattered most, and you can't discredit him of that. You have to give him credit for that. You have to give him if you're going to give him credit for the turnovers, you also got to give him credit for the plays he made to put them back in that game and have a chance.
And you have to give him credit for the fact that he made the plays that he made after the turnovers, right? Short memory.
That's
short
how
memory,
you judge a quarterback.
Big
in the
moment. Do you guys?
Guys,
how many times in Chicago have we watched a quarterback who, in those moments, when they make a mistake, that's it. They fold. They crumble. Lamar Jackson has a very short memory, and he just moves on to the next play, man. And that's you gotta.
He cannot be labeling him as a bad quarterback is ludicrous.
It is. And Josh Allen is a great quarterback too. Those were the two best quarterbacks in the NFL playing against each other, and we're lucky we got to see it. And that's all I'm saying. At the end, you have to give both of them credit for what they did in that game, and they'll take blame for what they didn't do well enough. Josh Allen, I'm happy for him. I hope he can get to a Super Bowl. I really do.
Yeah, he's outrageous, man. He's like leading the league in rushing
unbelievable player
right now.
I'm not looking for a reason to knock Allen, and I'm not looking for a reason to knock Lamar. Those two played their asses off all season, and in the last game, Bills came up with a couple more plays, and that's what it comes down to. But it's a team sport. It's never a quarterback versus a quarterback. That's never.
I feel like, guys, I also feel like because I chose the Bills in this game because when you're looking at these teams, I'm only talking about teams that are consistently successful, consistent playoff teams. I feel like the Bills are in the prime of a window, if that makes sense. Like this is the moment for the Bills. I feel like the Ravens
are kind of past it.
No, I think that they won that. I think they're getting there. I really do.
Really?
I do. I think Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry come back next year. They're going to hammer people, Dustin. I mean, this team is going to. John Harbaugh is still the coach next year. Lamar Jackson's still the quarterback who had the best season of his career. Lamar Jackson just did. Derrick Henry just had the second best season of his career. John Harbaugh, this team's not going anywhere.
Guys, let's think about that too. Lamar Jackson, like you said, Darius, 2 MVPs, had the best season of his pro career, and he's not going to win an MVP this year. And I don't think he should. I think this is Josh Allen's year. Right? But that says a lot for a guy who's won 2 MVPs. This was his best season throwing the football that he's had. He can still get better, Brandon, to your point. And
did you see the highlight video?
It's a lot of fun to watch those guys play again.
I think they're attributing to his best season. It comes from nobody but the addition of Derrick Henry. no doubt in my mind.
No, yeah, for sure.
Oh no, that's what I said before
yeah.
the season started. I said the MVP, Dustin. I literally texted the MVP will
You
have
said
a
it on the show,
better
too.
year. Will have a better year because of the acquisition of Derrick Henry. I
Yeah,
firmly
yeah.
believe that. And
he did.
and he is a phenomenal talent, guys, top to bottom. And I'll say this, and I swear, you can go find this right now. Anybody who's watching, guys, go check this. Go look on social media. There's a video somebody put together of Lamar Jackson's, I believe, 4 interceptions this season or 3. I don't recall if it's 4 or 3 from the regular season. They were all tipped balls. Every interception he threw this season was the responsibility of was responsible for receiver.
Yeah,
Receiver
it
was
4
directly responsible.
interceptions, I believe, and yes, you are correct.
They were. Somebody put a video together. They're all tip balls that hit somebody in the hands and they pop into the air, and it's like, this guy really didn't throw a pick.
Guys,
But,
Riley Leonard is driving the Irish down the field, just ran for it on 4th and 1 and got the first down, just completed a pass. They are at the 30, actually the 28, and moving towards the red zone here against Ohio State. They're moving the ball against this Ohio State defense.
Doing his Tim Tebow rendition, huh?
Yeah, man, he's ran it a couple times for some big plays, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is going to be a fun game to watch. Duplessis Sevens in. That's Kyle. He says bear down. Ben Johnson. He's excited for Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was the
shout out to Kyle.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
What's up, Kyle?
That is the news of the day, guys. But I do just want to, and Brandon, you wanted to talk about Jalen Hurts in terms of that Eagles game, right? In terms of how they were able to pull out that win and Jalen Hurts'
I just don't
presence in that win.
I think it's the general. I just don't know what the hell to make of Jalen Hurts, man. It's ugly. They win, and he never. I don't know, man. He's regressed to me from the season he had when he was in the Super Bowl, and I think Saquon Barkley carried that. He's the backbone of that Eagles offense. I don't know how much better the Eagles could be with a quarterback that throws the ball more efficiently. I guess I'll say that the Eagles could get better at that position. I believe that.
Listen, you said that. You said that. I think Jalen Hurts plays ugly, though. I think that's just kind of his game. Yeah.
I agree. And like I said, I had him as a fantasy quarterback. It was strange, man, because he'd throw for like 140 yards and a pick, and he'd have 32 fantasy points because he ran for 3 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
it's a very strange. He's like Justin Fields, but more efficient. He like wins football games because he does things.
but
He
I
does do
think-
this. He makes plays when it matters. He does that for sure.
And he does not turn the ball over.
Yeah,
No.
that's key. I think a lot of it is attributed to the play calling, man. Last year,
Who is Sirianni, or is it the OC that's calling plays?
no, I think it's Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, yeah.
Yeah, who I thought should have been interviewed for the Bears job, but
No, thank you. But
yeah, nonetheless.
we're good. We
I
got
think
Ben
he's
Johnson.
a shoe-in. I think he's a shoe-in in Dallas, though. I think he's definitely shooing.
Former offensive coordinator in Dallas. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think he will be the head coach up there. This coming year, I think he's going to get the head coaching job. There's a lot of familiarity there, and he's been around. He's pretty good. He's pretty good at what he does.
I'm starting to think Joe Brady ends up in Dallas.
Kellen Moore has fixed this offense because last year they went into turmoil because it was looked at as if they trusted Jalen Hurts too much. They put him in too many situations that he wasn't necessarily built for.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because they were kind of riding the wave that they had that Super Bowl year. And as we all
I think
know,
they thought more of him, Darius, for sure.
Right.
Jalen Hurts threw the ball up and down the field in that Super Bowl.
Right. As
Well,
we
he
all
did it-
know, the
he
league
did it
has
that
a way
whole
of catching
season.
up. The
Yeah.
NFL stands for not for long. And when you're limited as a quarterback, your tendencies poke out, a lot on film. So the NFL caught up to them. They had to figure out another way. And that was the reason why they went so hard at Saquon Barkley. Because they seen how the production of Daniel Jones went up with a Saquon Barkley playing a full season as compared to him not being in the lineup. You saw Daniel Jones with the Saquon Barkley be more efficient and actually win a playoff game and score 30 points while doing it with the Saquon Barkley in the lineup as compared to him being out of the lineup, and you seen a major difference in the quarterback. And I think they kind of Philly did that. You know, they added Saquon Barkley for
with
that.
the intention of taking the load off of Jalen Hurts and changing the way they play call. And I do want to relate this to the Chicago Bears because Philly let DeAndre Swift walk to go get Saquon Barkley, and the Bears went and snatched up DeAndre Swift. The Bears are missing that guy that they can rely on to pound the rock and just take that weight off that quarterback and make the game easier on him. And the Eagles figured out, like you said, that's what they needed for Jalen Hurts to be successful. And look where they are. They're in an NFC championship game. They obviously have a very good offensive line, but they felt like they needed a bruiser and a hard runner in that backfield to complement Jalen Hurts with. And it's worked out really well for them. I think the Bears need to be
for him.
in that
I'm
direction.
so happy for Saquon Barkley, man.
And
Notre Dame just got another fourth down.
We also saw a difference in Jared Goff when he had Todd Gurley as his back compared to when Todd Gurley was not there. And you also see
Irish.
Oh, they scored?
Yes. Riley Leonard ran it right up their freaking throats, dude.
That's Tebow, baby.
Let's
go.
go.
And you seen the difference in Jared Goff when he had Todd Gurley, and when Todd Gurley started to get injured and couldn't be as effective as he normally was. You saw it play out in front of us in the Super Bowl. The offense was flat. Fast forward 2 years after, you see Jared Goff in a position where, you know, now we adding a running game. He's behind another good offensive line, and you see him flourish. You know, I think this season alone, if no other season in the last 4 or 5 years, will show you the importance of a running back. You know, now, of course, you know,
the NFL tried to get away from it, but you can't ever get away from that. This is football. It is
right.
It will come down to that always.
The debate of paying a guy a whole bunch of money at this particular position, we can always go back and forth with that, especially in the NFL. Like, you know, you can always go back and forth with that, but you cannot discount the importance of the running back. You just can't do it. And I don't like the way the NFL tried to do it because it's about the money.
And Ben Johnson kind of discounted the importance of his running backs in that game on Saturday, man. I mean, Monty didn't have it. That was clear to me early on. Montgomery was not ready to be playing the way
I didn't expect him to have it. I didn't think he should have played.
And they went away from Gibbs too much, and they went away from Gibbs in important situations. And like I said, I hope that he learned from that. And it's a learning. You can only learn from it and grow and get better. And the Bears need to establish that type of identity. They need a bruising running back. They need to add that to this team with Ben Johnson. They need to improve this offensive line. And Ben Johnson needs to make that the Bears' identity, and he needs to never waver from it. I really believe that.
In defense to Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell, they were probably directly behind the drafting of Gibbs while in the same offseason as acquiring a Dave Montgomery. So Ben Johnson very much
understands the importance of it. Yes. It's just weird to me how they lost sight of it in the most important game.
They lost sight of a lot of things. Guys, I was so disappointed. I wanted to say this to open the show. I'll be honest. I was so disappointed in that Detroit coaching staff. They got out-coached
up and down across the board.
It's very disappointing because you just got to believe Detroit's. It just feels so Detroity. Like their window's just not going to be hanging around forever, man. I don't know. I think this year was their best shot to just go try and
be the best team in the NFL.
And they played the Chiefs really well, if that's who ends up being in the Super Bowl too.
Dan Campbell lost sight of what his team is good at the most important times, and it cost them big time. You know, you let Jared Goff throw you out of that game when you could have leaned on Gibbs, who was unstoppable. And again, I just keep coming back to this. Ben Johnson was the guy calling those plays. And that just gave me some pause. That gave me some concerns. And I just hope that he has learned from that. I am happy that he is going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. This is not a move the Bears make, guys. This is something very different. It feels very different. So I am extremely happy about it. I just hope Ben Johnson has learned from those things and will bring that learning experience with him to Chicago and leave that fucking trick play, like you said, Darius, in Detroit.
Leave that shit in Detroit, man. You know,
and again, it could
when
be
you're winning, you can get away with that shit. But
When you're in a fight for your life, you got to stick to
Yeah.
the basics. Gouge a guy's eye out, kick him in the balls. You're in a fight for your life. You don't want to try to do you don't want to try to do karate at that point, man. Like,
man.
you don't want to try to throw a flying leg kick. You're trying to survive. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's a little bit different in terms of the situation, guys. I don't know what else haven't we touched on that you guys want to talk about. I just really want to say again, Jaden Daniels is unbelievable. Jaden Daniels is doing things I've never seen a rookie quarterback do. You can't compare him to Joe Flacco the year he went to the AFC Championship as a rookie. You can't compare him to Ben Roethlisberger, because those guys were benefactors of a very good defense and a very good running game. Jaden Daniels is kind of making the plays to win this team games. He has been unstoppable. I've never seen anything like it. And when you compare him to Caleb Williams, it becomes pretty tough because Jaden Daniels is so damn special. You're gonna wonder what if the Bears would have drafted Jaden Daniels. I think the Bears chose the right guy with the information they had at the time of that draft, and I think Caleb, dealing with all the adversity he dealt with this season, acquitted himself very well. But I think it's kind of unfair to compare Caleb to Jaden Daniels, given the circumstances, the head coaching, the system that they're in, and just the way they were set up for success or failure. Mm-hmm. And also just the fact that I've never seen anything like what Jaden Daniels has done. To compare Caleb to that feels unfair to me.
And I want to say this, man.
Crookie Commish, what up?
I am so impressed with Jaden Daniels. I'm really happy for him because Jaden Daniels got a lot of flack for being a guy who showed out in his final season of his collegiate career. You know what I mean? People are like, I don't like.
Yeah, he had some rough seasons.
Just pops out of nowhere. But it's like, why not? He worked his ass off, and he's obviously a better player in his final year than he was in his freshman year, right? So, but I think they're going to be good in very different ways, Dustin. I think Caleb is going to ultimately be. You used the word unstoppable. I envision Caleb being a player, an unstoppable type player, but throwing the football.
Yeah.
I believe
he'll never be as unstoppable as Jaden Daniels is on.
Well, he'll never present the same threats.
That's really what it comes down to.
He'll never present the same threats. But I also believe Caleb Williams makes throws that Jaden Daniels will only ever dream of. I also believe this.
You've seen Jaden Daniels make some damn good throws this year.
Yeah, he did, man. But I mean,
yeah, he does. But it's not this. But this is why I think. I don't. I want to credit because, and I'm going to do this because I'm not even the biggest fan of him. I want to credit Cliff Kingsbury a lot for what's going on in Washington because, guys, the one game I got to poke in on a little bit this weekend was that game. And I was just shocked. And I know that Detroit defense is beat up, man, but I'm shocked at how open these players are on this football team on Washington. I mean, Kingsbury is doing something very similar to Ben Johnson. The scheme is he's picking you apart. If you're in zone, you're in man, it doesn't matter. Kingsbury has figured out how to utilize Jaden Daniels in the best way to make teams just stay on their heels for an entire 4 quarters.
The more important thing about what Cliff Kingsbury has coached into Jaden Daniels, and I guess I'll give Cliff Kingsbury this credit because, I was under the assumption Jaden Daniels would have a hard time staying healthy in the NFL. That was my biggest concern with him. I knew he could play. I knew he was a player. I knew he was a very dangerous player coming into that draft, but he just seemed to put himself in bad positions when he would run the football in college. But in the NFL, man, he's been injured this season. Obviously, he had the ribs. He took a bad hit the week before they played the Bears, actually, and they struggled when he was hurt.
He took one in the Bears game.
Yeah, and he struggled when he was hurt. That team struggled for a few weeks because of it. But generally, most of the time, I don't see Jaden Daniels taking hits. He runs smart, much more smart than I expected him to in the NFL. That's the biggest thing, the biggest difference in his game to college to the NFL that I've seen, man.
Dude, these guys, to me, like I said, the comfortability in the pocket already in the NFL. I mean, guys, you don't typically see that by the end of a rookie year. A guy who looks like he's been playing for 5 years, you wouldn't tell the difference looking at him. But then also, man, their ability between Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, their ability to process as quickly as they can. It's incredible, man. Yeah. Quarterbacks tend. You remember when you used to always sit the first round pick? These guys,
the experience they have now, it's otherworldly. It's otherworldly.
They did not process within a half a season within half of their rookie year. Quarterbacks weren't doing this like C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels and even Caleb Williams. numbers like those behind a line like that. So it's much easier, guys, in the NFL nowadays for a quarterback to come in and succeed as long as a guy like Kingsbury can coach you along.
And I think Jaden Daniels had some very good coaching in college too. Because remember, he came up under Herm Edwards. You know, got there with Herm Edwards.
Yeah. Played for Brian Kelly.
I think the game changer was with Brian Kelly. Listen, Brian Kelly gets a lot of flack, man, and a lot of people have their own opinion about him. But one thing about that guy knows offensive football.
Yeah, for sure.
That's one thing we can't argue.
Guys, Mike Ross brings this up, and I've mentioned this a couple times. I mentioned it when it happened that Jaden Daniels Hail Mary broke the Bears. That changed the Bears.
They admitted it.
Yeah. And you could see it. I was watching the highlights. It's hard to watch that highlight, but I was watching some Jaden Daniels end of game highlights, and you see the camera just panning around the field after that, and you see the life just leaving every Bears player. You literally can see it. Jaden Daniels broke the Bears this year. That play destroyed the Bears. And we watched them just go to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I was just going to say this. We're two Bears different fans. We're Bears fans, and we think about how the game affected us.
How it affected Washington.
That propelled Washington into a steamroll, and not of just playing solid football, but guys, games were ending in just insane ways all season long for this Washington team. I wasn't paying too close attention to
even against Tampa Bay in that playoffs, the points that went in.
Yeah, and the Bucks have a false start because the center snaps the ball before the hike. Like, how does it? Just weird things, man. Their season's been strange, but the bounces have gone their way, I'll say too.
Yeah,
Aquaman, you ain't really unsubscribing because of that. We don't have no control over that, man. Ben's a traitor. The NFL should outlaw all communication between staffs and potential different employers until after the Super Bowl game is over. All 32 teams, not just the 2. Listen, but that would be hard on you. Listen, you like Ben Johnson, Aquaman. You want what's best for him. Then him moving up, you should be happy for him. That shows that something really good is happening in Detroit that he is benefiting from, right? You benefited from him growing with your team, and he gets an opportunity to take it to the next level. I mean, I'm sorry, it's against the division rival. It's against the division rival. That's tough for sure. I can relate, but you should be happy for Ben Johnson. You really should.
Aquaman, that's still Dan Campbell's ship. If you think anybody else is running that team over there, that Lions team, Dan Campbell instills what that team has.
He definitely is.
That Stay team with us, man. It'll be all right.
That team,
all right. I'm sorry, that was a tough loss.
Yeah. Hey guys, I got a tad bit of a ER. I appreciate being on with you guys tonight, man. Sure. Listen, man, we have to do this again.
For sure, man.
Hey, I ain't trying to get all extra sentimental and mushy and shit, but I miss you guys, man.
Oh, Darius.
Yeah, man. I enjoy working with you guys, man.
We enjoy working with you as well, Darius.
I gotta run, fellas.
All right, thanks for coming on, Darius.
Hey man, hit me up, man. Hit me up. Like I said, man, I like working with you guys, man. Anytime I have an opportunity to get on with you guys, I love to.
Oh yeah, by the way, guys, D-Lock, you can also find Darius at One Night on
Sports
CSP.
Podcast.
Chicago Sports Podcast.
He just did a solo show earlier today, guys, and literally the Ben Johnson news broke while he was on there. And he had to pivot. Darius did a great job. It's a hell of a show. Go check it out if you haven't already. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe for Darius for Chicago Sports Podcast. Appreciate you, Darius.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, guys. And shout out to 4 Stars. Love what you guys doing. Check me out on Chicago Sports Podcast on Wednesdays and Thursday nights. And often various little times during the day. I may sneak in and out for about 10 minutes. But you guys enjoy the rest of the night, man.
We'll get
thanks
you back
again for having me. And when y'all ready for me again, just let me know.
All right,
Darius. Take it easy, man. Good to see you. All right, and then there were 2, Brando. Let's let's. I mean, what again? The Jaden Daniels thing is it's just unbelievable.
It's the headline of the NFL right now.
Yeah, this whole NFL season, he has just taken it by storm. It's crazy, man. I I have to remind myself not to get too caught up in it to the point where I'm like, why didn't we draft this guy? Because I still believe in Caleb Williams. And I think that that's just a good reminder for Bears fans. Like, Jaden Daniels is doing something historic. The situation had to be perfect. The decisions made leading up to it had to be perfect. And Caleb Williams just wasn't put in that same position, man. He just wasn't. So, like, we got to have some patience with this guy. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a damn good quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and I want to say this, man. This is what I felt about Caleb Williams prior to him being drafted. Dustin, you know that. This is how
yes, Mike Ross. Yes.
Regardless of how not planned, not by the book that season went his rookie year, Dustin, I believe this. Jaden Daniels poses a very different threat than Caleb Williams, and he's very efficient. But I do believe Patrick Mahomes' first season as a starter. First full season as a starter, he threw 5,000.
It went very similar to what Jaden Daniels is doing this year.
No, I mean, Patrick Mahomes threw 5,000 yards and what was it, 50 touchdowns?
I went to the AFC Championship against Tom Brady and the Patriots. He had a hell of a first season.
But like the passings, because Patrick Mahomes is not much not known as a runner. The passing efficiency that Mahomes had his first full season, 5,000 yards, I believe. I thought it was like 50 touchdowns. It was a pretty high number, man.
I thought that was his second year, but you could be
right.
No,
the first year he ever played, the rookie year, he filled in for Alex Smith on the final game of the year.
I'm talking about his second full year as a starter. I thought that was when he put up the 50 touchdowns.
I think it was his second year in the NFL, first year as a full-time starter. But that's what I'm expecting from Caleb. That's the kind of football that I want, which I think Jaden Daniels probably won't ever throw 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards because he utilizes his abilities in a much different way. You know what I mean? But it does create bigger problems for a defense.
And we're hoping that the hiring of Ben Johnson signals that the Bears are looking forward to that same thing that you're talking about. Caleb Williams progressing and continuing to develop and have those statistical seasons that make this offense unstoppable and lead to Bears winning football games. But you know what? You need a defense. And you need an offensive line to protect that quarterback and to run that football. So there's a lot of things that still need to be addressed. This isn't the end-all, be-all, guys, hiring Ben Johnson. And we've all sat here and questioned the Bears' decision-making for years. And now they make this decision, and we're all going to applaud it. We're all going to be happy. But at the end of the day, this decision is not proven anything yet. They still have a lot to do, and that we still need to see results on the field. My concern of the Bears, this franchise, this dysfunctional organization, turning Ben Johnson into a dysfunctional head coach still exists. It's still there. It's still strong. I need them to hire a very strong staff around him, and I need them to make the necessary adjustments with the roster to really start buying into this. Just because they pick Ben Johnson doesn't mean that they're going to be right, guys. There's no guarantees. That's all I know. I hope they are.
And Ryan Poles, and I kind of tried to drive this home a lot in the last couple of weeks, man. What Ryan Poles does moving forward with the roster is just as important as what he did hiring a coach. What he does hiring a coach. Mm-hmm. This offensive line, Dustin, cannot fail again. It is the writing on the wall.
To Mike Ross's point right here, man, I am more upset we didn't draft Jalen Carter. Brandon, me and you lost our minds when they traded that pick on draft night, when they moved back from 9 and traded that pick to the Eagles. We knew what the Eagles were going to do with that pick. The Bears got Darnell Wright, who's been a solid player, but he is not Jalen Carter. The Bears need Jalen Carter. The Bears need game changers. And this draft, they're drafting in the damn near the same spot, and they got to get a game changer with that pick. And when you pass up on those guys, this is what happens to your team. You regress. You do not get better. You have the opportunity to add a blue chip player like Jalen Carter, who was the best player in that draft as far as I was concerned, and you pass up on it. This is what happens. It's just the reality.
Yeah, no, I do not want to hear I don't want to hear any Bears fans. I don't want to hear any trade back from the 10th pick that the Bears hold this year.
Try to trade up if you can.
You draft the best damn player that is available.
A game changer. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And Ryan Poles, man, I can't believe I'm saying this. Maybe the strangest remark I've ever made regarding sports. Ryan Poles is going to live and die with the offensive line next year. I mean, if he does not fix that problem, Dustin,
Ohio State scores
that is it.
Yeah, no, it is, man. It is. There's a lot still at play here, a lot of things that still need to happen. The thing that gives you confidence is that Ben Johnson, like you said, chose the Bears. So that means that they convinced him that they have a good plan on how they're going to address this offseason. That's what that has to mean, that, right? So I'm excited about that. And I want to see what they do. But I am not at all backing off of my concern for this Bears team and how they handle business, just because they're picking Ben Johnson. I really hope it works out. It's unlike a lot of things that they've done in the past, but we could still see this play out the same way. This could be Matt Nagy all over again, Brandon, like you were saying earlier. It could be. That's just the reality. We're hoping it's not. We're hoping Ben Johnson is a better candidate than that and a guy who can control this locker room and turn this thing around. But it's still an unknown. It's still an unknown. So
You hope that for the first time and maybe forever, Dustin, the Bears have hired themselves.
saw that, Sean.
Because we're talking about Caleb Williams. You want this guy to be coaching your football team for the next 20 years. So honestly, that's what you want. You want to be one of
You
those
want the
franchises.
stability you see in Pittsburgh. You want
Yeah.
the stability that you see in Pittsburgh. You need that. You need
You
someone.
want this guy to coach beyond Caleb Williams. You
Mhm.
want this guy to be the culture that is created. And I'm going to say this, Dustin. Well, first off, they have been doing things differently. You've pointed out a lot. They did fire their head coach in the middle of the year. They just made the hire that everybody else wanted. We never do that. We just don't do that. Everybody wants somebody. The Bears are always looking the other way. That's how things happen in this city. But
They moved on from Ted Phillips. They've done a lot of things.
and I believe this. I want
Drafted
to
a
say
quarterback.
this. This is a step towards identity and culture, isn't it? You
It
just
should be,
changed. I mean, Dustin, this team, and Brian Pohl said, I want to forget the old. Now think about this. A team who was built, this organization is built on running the football, bad weather, hard hitting defense. Now we're talking about building a dome. We drafted our franchise quarterback, as far as I'm concerned. Why does this keep happening, man?
It's something you do with your hands, dude.
We
You did a
we're building
thumbs
a
up earlier, and the thumbs up popped up.
They're
So.
planning on building a dome. They drafted a franchise quarterback, and they just hired an offensive guru of a head coach. This might, like, the Bears feel like
Dude,
their identity and culture is changing, and it
I don't want a
feels like
dome. I don't want a dome. I'll just say that. I want the weather.
I think retractable, whatever. I think every stadium now built today has a retractable roof now, right? But like I said, doesn't it feel like Brian Pohl said, I want to disconnect from what the Bears have always been. And it feels that way, doesn't it? You're a run the football, smack in the mouth defense. Now you're hiring an offensive like genius as far as anyone's concerned. As a head coach, you're drafting your first overall quarterback as your franchise quarterback who looks like he's going to be right. This identity is different from the Bears that we have been familiar with.
But as much as you change those things,
You
you're
want
still
to
going to run the football and play fucking defense if you want. Look at these teams that are moving on.
I don't think Ben Johnson's going to lose sight of balance.
No, he cannot. He cannot.
But I think he also knows that Caleb Williams is going to be one of his greatest strengths.
Yeah, for sure, and he's got to lean into it. He does. But you look at these teams. You look at the weather that we saw.
You look at Lamar Jackson's improvement. The guy who was an MVP just got better because they added a running back. Yeah, I agree with you, Dustin. This is how teams are built.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you win football games.
Yeah, like I was going to say Kansas City.
Barkley. Go ahead.
I was going to say Kansas City playing at home against Houston, a dome team, a nice weather team. That impacted that game. You know, Lamar and Mark Andrews, the ball issues they had, it was cold outside. I mean, they're used to it in Baltimore, I guess. So like that, but that's a huge advantage that I don't want to lose in Chicago. I want
look at the Philly game
in the playoffs.
Look at the
Rams. Exactly.
The snow is pouring down, and it's a day where Saquon Barkley rushes for over 200 yards. Yeah, you're going to win that football game. You know what I mean? So
yep.
I mean, I agree with you.
Like I said, I don't want to lose in Chicago. No way.
And I said this to you: if Saquon Barkley rushes for 200 yards next week and he doesn't, they win a Super Bowl. I mean, if the guy is running the ball for 200 yards, they're winning a Super Bowl because you don't need to pass, and that's a luxury no other football team that's left can say.
Listen,
right?
Hey, man, we got our coach. That's the way it's reported. He's coming here tomorrow to sign. We should all be excited. It's the Halas Hall happy hour today, guys. But we have the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship coming up. Sean did his predictions before he bailed out. I think that'll be a good spot for us to end this, Brandon. Who do you got in these games coming up? We got the Chiefs at home against the Bills, right? And we got the Eagles at home against the Commanders. Where's your head take you? Where's your heart take you? What are you predicting this weekend?
I think this Super Bowl is going to be probably the most exciting thing that could occur. Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels.
Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels.
I think that's going to be the Super Bowl game.
So you're picking the Commanders to beat the Eagles. The Commanders just beat the Eagles. Now, they didn't have Jalen Hurts in that game. The Eagles Pickett played a pretty solid game, but the Commanders came back in that game in a roaring fashion. That was an amazing display by Jalen.
I don't think, Dustin, that one's tough for me. God, now you're making me, because if Saquon Barkley, man, cannot be contained, you can't beat this football team.
Listen, the Lions ran all over. The Lions ran at will against the Commanders. They just did not do it enough. The Eagles are not.
You know what, man? I'm gonna go Eagles. I'm gonna go Eagles at home, though, man. I have to. I am gonna say shit because
Jahmyr Gibbs averaged 7.5 yards a carry in that game, dude.
If you see to it that Jalen Hurts, like Darius just pointed out, he's taking the pressure. Saquon's taking the pressure. If Jalen Hurts only has to do, what's required, he doesn't have to go out there and win a football game. Because of Barkley, there's just no way this team loses, man.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles. I got the Eagles.
I'm gonna go Eagles.
I got the Chiefs. I got the Chiefs at home, man. I'm taking the Chiefs at home. I don't see the Chiefs losing to the Bills at home in an AFC Championship game with their chance to three-peat on the line. I've been picking the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl all year. That's the one thing I've gotten right so far up to this point. So I'm sticking with that. Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl again against the Eagles. That's what I'm predicting. The Commanders are going to play a hell of a game. It's going to be a well-fought game. The Eagles have flaws, Brandon, that will keep the Commanders in that game. But the Eagles eventually will just be able to break off that 60-yard run that breaks the Commanders' backs. That's really what it comes down to in my mind.
If I'm a gambling man, I don't like to gamble. You're conflicted here because I don't like to gamble against the Chiefs, Dustin, but I also don't like gambling for a three-peat. That's just such a
Appreciate your plan. Thank you, bud.
It's just a hard feat, man.
Yeah, it is. But the Chiefs are. If there's any team you're betting on to do that, it would be the Chiefs. V-Dog just joined us. What up, man? Good day to be a Bears fan. According to longtime Chicago sports writer host David Kaplan, Ben Johnson will make $15 million. That's concerning. I did see that $14.5 million a year for Ben Johnson is what we're talking about. That might have made his choice pretty easy because I don't think other teams would have been offering him that much. That will make him one of the top 3 or 4 highest paid coaches in the NFL, I believe. But yeah, that we're about to get out of here, V-Dog. We appreciate you, man. You got to go back and watch the show. Please hit that like button. I know you're already subscribed. Trey, I'm with you, man. Until someone beats them, I'm picking the Chiefs again. I don't see again. It would be nice to see. I don't want the Chiefs to win. I just think they're going to. But I'll be rooting for the Bills. I will. But and I'll be rooting for the Commanders. I'm rooting for Bills Commanders, but I'm picking Eagles Chiefs. That's where I'm at.
I'm gonna say, man, I'm gonna say that Josh Allen wins this game and wins a Super Bowl and wins an MVP. I'm gonna say this is the Josh Allen. So we're gonna look back at the Josh Allen season of the NFL.
Josh Allen is a hell of a player, and he will earn that if he gets it, and he will deserve it. Again, like I said earlier in that stat I was giving about these quarterbacks, man, 12 playoff games, 4 interceptions. That he's otherworldly, man. He's unstoppable with his legs. So he presents a huge problem for any defense. I just can't go against the Chiefs until I see them lose. I don't, and if the Chiefs, especially if the Chiefs are dogs at home, not a chance the Bills win that game. We'll see how it goes. But it's going to be another good weekend of games. And obviously the Super Bowl is going to be great no matter who's in it. We'll all love that, man. We got Ben Johnson as the Chicago Bears head coach. We are going to talk more about it throughout the weeks coming up, guys, and all the other things that are going to happen with the Chicago Bears, the staff that he's hiring. There's still so much to get into here. We appreciate everybody for joining. V-Dog. Sean jumped in the chat after he left. We got Trey Shy. Plank has been killing it. He left us already. Mike Ross. Breaking News Bruce. Trey Shy, Crooked Commish, Independent Aquaman. I hope you actually didn't unsubscribe, Aquaman. I hope you were just playing with us. We appreciate everybody. Share it with a friend. Have a great night. Love you guys. Bear down. Take it easy.
Thanks, guys. Bear down.